Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. Welcome to tonight's July 9th, 2025 meeting of the Brighton Town Board, and I hereby call tonight's meeting to order. In a few minutes, we'll begin the open forum portion of our meeting. Normally, that's right at the start, but we also have a presentation tonight that we'll be getting to in just a moment on the Brighton Community Center Needs Assessment and Feasibility Studies report. But let me review some of the procedures before we get to any of that. Of course, the open forum is the portion of the meeting where the public can share their comments with the board, and you'll have the same opportunity following the presentation on the study tonight. I would note that if you are live streaming our meeting on YouTube, you'll have to log into Teams in order to speak during the open forum tonight, but you can participate remotely, as always. We have instructions for doing that on the Town of Brighton webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. As we've done for many years now, we make all of our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing communities, thanks to our ASL interpreters. Tonight, our interpreters, you see Michael Fisher right now, and Samantha Geffen is also with us. Thank you very much, both of you. You help make our meetings accessible to as many people in the community as possible. The agenda for tonight's meeting, if you're here in the room, is out on the table outside, along with supporting materials. There is a copy of the Community Center study, and you'll have an opportunity to take a look at that, as well as all of the other material that we will be considering in making our decisions this evening. I would ask everyone to rise if they're physically capable to. If not, rise in spirit for a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Werner to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we're going to start tonight with a presentation summarizing a study prepared to consider creating a community center in Brighton. We have worked with consultants SWBR and Ballard King Associates to develop this study, and I appreciate the work that both SWBR and Ballard King have put in to get us this far. Darren Barr, who is the president of Ballard King, is here tonight, and he will present a study of the final draft, a summary of the final draft of that study. The complete draft study is posted in two places on the town's webpage. It's posted as part of tonight's agenda. It's also posted in the Community Center page, part of the Recreation Department section of the webpage. After tonight's meeting, it'll probably take a day or two, we will also be posting the PowerPoint slideshow that Mr. Barr will be using tonight. We'll be posting that on the town's webpage. Before Mr. Barr starts his presentation, I just want to say a couple of words. This study is exactly that. It's a study. We're not taking action tonight to approve a community center. We received a lot of public input over the last couple of years, both through the formal input process as well as more informally. And this study takes into account public input, and it also takes into account a number of demographic and other professional recreation standards as to how best to proceed with a community center. And in this summary of the study tonight, you're going to hear a recommendation as to how our consultant believes best to proceed with a community center. But it's only that. It's a recommendation. Again, We are not taking action to approve a community center. There's no, we are a long ways from that point in the process. One thing I can tell you is overwhelmingly, we heard that people in Brighton are interested in having a community center, which is why we've moved to this point in preparing and completing this draft study. The study goes into great detail about demographics, recreational needs and preferences, how those preferences and needs are being met or not being met in the community. It addresses costs, but those too are only estimates. I will, however, the one action relating to this I will be asking the board to take later on the agenda is to approve a proposal from Collier's Engineering and Design to prepare a grant application under the New York State BRICS grant program. That grant program was announced by Governor Hochul just last month. It is a very new program with a very short timeline. BRICS stands for Building Recreational Infrastructure for Communities, Kids, and Seniors. And I think that's exactly what we and most of the community are looking to do with a community center. Now, the BRICS grant program could provide up to $15 million of the cost towards building or otherwise creating a community center in Brighton. So that's the one action that we're going to be proposing to take tonight. Applications are due on August 15th. So it is a very short time frame. The program was just announced last month. Applications are due in just over a month. There's a very detailed application format that will have to be used to even qualify for consideration. So we're going to be moving forward on that with the hoped-for board support. So with that framework in mind, I will now turn the floor over to Darren Barr, who is the president of Ballard King Associates. When Mr. Barr completes his presentation, we will take your questions before we move on to the rest of the program. So if you have questions about the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to do it then. If you have comments on other matters that you would plan to discuss during the open forum, I would encourage you to wait until then. And if you're here, and this may be the least likely, but if you're here to discuss the proposed, the public hearing on the proposed local law number 2 concerning a proposed stop sign intersection at the corner of Mayflower and St. Regis, I'll ask you to wait until that public hearing is called a little bit later in the session. So, Darren, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm not great at standing still when I do this, so if I bump into something, I'm going to ask for some forgiveness. It's great to be here. In addition to being the president of Ballard King & Associates, my wife is a graduate of the University of Rochester. My oldest was born at Strong Hospital, so I made sure I got in time today to get a few wings from Jeremiah's before things got started. So it's always nice to be back in Rochester. Ballard King & Associates is a facility planning and operations firm. We've been in business for over 33 years now. We've done close to 1,200 projects in 50 states, and you can see the other communities in the greater Rochester area that we've worked in. We often get the question on our core services of feasibility studies, master plans, and operational assessments of, have you ever recommended that somebody not build a building? And I think that that's an important statistic just to share with the group of, out of those 1,200 different projects, 800 are maybe feasibility studies, and it's probably only resulted in 300 facilities. So there are times where the economic drivers or the demographics can indicate that maybe it's not a great idea to do this, but that's why we're hired to do this job, is to do studies and to provide an unbiased third-party opinion. In terms of the process that the town went through, it was a very, I don't want to say standard, but very common process. We went ahead and we took a look at existing and potential locations for a facility. There was a significant public input process that included stakeholder meetings, focus groups, attending some of the town events, online survey, so that was robust. We looked at demographics and participation statistics so that we made sure we understood what some of the trends might be within the community. We look at trends from a regional and a national level, right? What works here in Brighton, New York might not be what works well in Palm Desert, California, and we want to go ahead and we want to recognize that. From all that information, we were able to work with SWBR and make recommendations on facilities. We developed an operational plan, talked about what it would cost for the construction and total project cost for a facility of this nature, and then really talked about debt service and household impact. So I dare say a lot of those questions that might get asked on the grant application, the town now has the answers to those to try and secure some of that additional funding if that's a direction they choose to go. To give you an idea of a timeline, it was a little convoluted. It was not a straight path. In 2019, we started talking about the winter barn market. In 2020, we all experienced the pandemic. In 2021, we start kicking off the RFP issuing the RFP and getting the team hired and moving forward. So going ahead and crafting a public input process that makes sense and that works well. A lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the study got done in that 22, 23 timeframe, but you guys are doing a lot as a town, right? So all of a sudden we had to start talking about the winter market shed, where we're going to go ahead and how that's going to happen. Town hall renovations have come into play. So it's taken the timeline for this and really stretched it out, which is fine. The data is still accurate. We've gone ahead and we've made updates. And the other benefit is that some of the volatility that we were seeing in terms of the construction market post-pandemic has gone ahead and slowed down as well. So while it took a little bit longer to get to this point, it might have been one of those blessings in disguise. When we looked at potential locations, there was really 3 locations that the group, again, led by SWBR, that was tasked to take a look at. We took a look at the Brookside location where recreation is currently housed. We understand that that's temporary, right? There's a lease in place there. That lease is potentially coming to an end. So you have a very robust recreation department. So at the end of the day, regardless if you build a recreation center or a community center, we don't necessarily have a home for that long term. And so that's a consideration. We look at non-town-owned options, the Jubilee Center that was for sale at the time of the study. We also talked to the Jewish Community Center and about some potential to go ahead and to lease space within that building and actually have the recreation department and the JCC cohabitate in one location. And we also looked at the town-owned option of Buckland Park. So that's where we really started, and even went ahead and helped inform some of the questions that were asked in the public input process. When we took a look at demographics, this section of the report's 30 pages, and I'm confident I can put everyone to sleep with that 30 pages, but the highlights of this are, we want to understand your population, right? Is the population in the town such that it would go ahead and would support, based upon statistics that we use from the National Recreation and Park Association, a community center? Yes, we check that box. We also know that we have people outside of the town going ahead and doing programs with the town recreation department. We want to understand median age, right? We want to understand what the makeup of your community is. And as you talk about a community center, I had the privilege of starting doing this work in 2007. What we always said is lower age means higher rates of participation. That shifted in the past 10 years because the new seniors don't want to go to a senior center. They want to go to a community center. They want to go to a recreation center. So community centers are becoming multi-generational just by the people in the community. So we want to understand that. We want to understand who's here. We always take a look at income, not that it's all about dollars and cents as it relates to these facilities, but is there the ability within the community to pay to participate in programs, to rent spaces to have special events? That's an important component. Recreation is about providing a service and providing opportunities to the community, but there is also a quasi-business element. So we really wanted to understand what that meant. And then through all of that, also take a look at cost of living and just understand that those things align, which in the case of the community, they do. It was important from the very beginning that we went ahead and we defined what type of facility we were going ahead and looking at, whether it was a recreation center or a community center. I know that sounds silly, but it gets my consultant brain a little excited when we start talking about the nuances, but some of the key components, when you start talking about a community center, it's something that's not necessarily membership based, right? There's not a paywall that you have to go ahead and have a membership to get past a certain point. It's really focused on drop-in usage, whether that's drop-in basketball, whether it's walking on a walk-jog track, whether it's playing in an indoor playground, whether it's coming to a meeting such as this. But there's a lot of drop-in usage of the facility. The revenue associated with these facilities is primarily through programs and through rentals. And then there's usually space available for the public and the community to use, depending upon the time of the day. Knowing Becky and knowing her staff, if you were to build a facility like this and you go in there at 6 o'clock at night, there might not be a whole lot of space to use because of the amount of people that are already there and the programs taking place, and that's a good thing. In contrast, when you start talking about recreation centers, it's very much membership and daily drop-in fee based, right? You can come into the facility, you might be able to access a couple meeting rooms, but if you want to make your way to the gymnasium, the fitness center, the aquatic center, those different components, there is what I refer to as a paywall that you have to get past to do that. There's some programming that takes place in those spaces, typically have a very sharp focus on cost recovery, how much revenue can we generate. And there's limited use of space by community organizations because we want those spaces to be available for our members. When we take a look at the public input that we received, and again, SWBR led this charge, but when we talk about touch points, there was a public survey that was online, the Farmers Market pop-up event, Brighton Homecoming, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meetings. Those were a lot of fun. The stakeholder meetings that we sat in with Supervisor, and he got to hear some great feedback in terms of the asset that recreation is into the community. Some community forums and a public open house. It's a very robust public input process, and there was a lot of good feedback. Some consistent feedback we heard that was town-owned meeting space for rental opportunities is lacking. It was acknowledged that there are significant opportunities within the community, but is there something that's sort of town-owned that we can go to that maybe we feel most comfortable in, and that seemed to be a gap. Gymnasium space, something that we recognize that we're missing. I don't know the number of projects I have going on right now. I'm a little embarrassed to say that, but there's not one of them that says, hey, we've got enough gymnasium space. So that's one of the areas where the town is very consistent with what we're seeing across the country. There was an interest in participants seeing an expansion of programming. They love what the rec department's offering, but can we do a little bit more? And one of the main detractors from doing that more is the space available. I kind of said I lived here, so you understand. I know what a long winter means. People in San Diego don't know what that means, but you have a long winter. So what are some indoor opportunities that we can go ahead and have? And then the other option in that we heard a lot of needs to be accessible for multiple modes of transportation, and if it can have a central location so it's not felt as though one portion of the community or a sector of the community is getting preference, that would be something that people were very interested in. So when we started coming up with recommendations, and we really with a recommendation of what's going to go ahead and serve Brighton best long into the future. These buildings, whether it's a community center or a recreation center, are typically designed to be 40 to 50-year buildings. So really the idea of the building being town-owned and operated floated to the top. The idea of potentially leasing a facility, not having the ownership, maybe not even having control or input on who some of your tenant partners might be, proposed a challenge. Purpose-built at Buckland Park became a topic of discussion, right? We had other opportunities, whether it was partnering or purchasing a pre-existing building. Those facilities were still going to require an investment by the town to get them usable by the town. And even in those cases, we were still running into situations where, well, we might be able to do a after-school class in a particular room, but it's not really designed to accommodate those things. So that really does become a topic of discussion. And so what we ended up recommending was a facility program of approximately 40,000 total square feet. When we started talking about location within Buckland Park, the farmers market location here, the parking lot, again, the idea that a community center could be here. I've sent Becky pictures of the community that I live in where they have a community center and a farmers market side by side, and on a Saturday morning what it looks like. That's a trend. We're seeing that, and even seeing some of those farmers market facilities being used for some unique opportunities. It provides the adjacency of green space. That was something that we heard. It didn't necessarily float to the top, but it was something we heard. We also heard about passive and active. So when you started to talk about all these things, we really started to check a lot of the boxes. So when we looked at Buckland Park, that was sort of the preferred thought process. When we started to discuss the actual components, this gives you a list, but a lobby, a front desk, or an admin area that very much kind of becomes the living room of the facility. It's where you have the meeting before you go to the group exercise class and the cup of coffee that you have afterwards, or maybe a bottle of water. You have a large meeting room, adjacent storage. As a former facility operator, I highlight storage as much as I can. It's the first thing that's cut, and it's the thing that's most needed. So we wanted to make sure that we recommended that. A commercial kitchen, some dedicated senior space that could also have some multi-purpose aspects to it depending on the time of day. A studio that you could do group exercise, you could do dance, you could do small kids tumbling classes, you could do martial arts, storage, additional meeting rooms. An indoor playground. That's something that is really kind of missing in the particular market. We're seeing those extremely popular in some of the Dakotas where we're doing work, definitely in Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. A double gymnasium that would go ahead and that would accommodate 2 full-size basketball courts and volleyball courts, probably close to, if you have 2 basketball courts, maybe up to 6 pickleball courts, depending upon the time. The idea of an elevated walking and jogging track, and restrooms/changing rooms. We didn't prescribe full-service locker rooms because we didn't really feel as though that there were components in the facility that were driving that. There are other components that you could consider where those might be required, but really felt like the idea of some restrooms, some changing spaces, maybe some day lockers in the hallways would really go ahead and serve the needs of the residents. SWBR went ahead and put these floor plans together for us. Again, this is a study. We want to be able to show a picture. We want to be able to show a representation of what this could be. But you're going to go through a complete design process. So what this looks like now, maybe it looks identical by the time you get to the point where you're putting a shovel in the ground. Chances are there's going to be changes to it. But you can understand how you come in from the lobby, there's an admin area, senior space close by, large meeting room, windows and views, kitchen and storage, another meeting room that's potentially dividable, restrooms and changing area, that fitness studio that we talked about, a big indoor playground. You've got a meeting room next to an indoor playground. I like to joke, I don't have kids that we actually throw big birthday parties for, but the amount of money that I will pay to not have the birthday party in my house is significant, and I got the giggles, so everybody identifies with that. But the idea of a meeting room next to a playground, next to indoor playground, next to a gymnasium, you start to see some of the synergies that exist between those spaces. And then upstairs, having an open area, again, that fitness studio that could be used for a lot of different things. You can do a meeting like this in a fitness studio if you want. And that was something that we heard a lot of. And then the idea of that elevated walk and jog track, and the fact that it's going around 2 basketball courts, you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 laps to go ahead and get a mile and something like that. Don't write that down, but you're not on the single court, which I refer to as a bit of a hamster wheel. So now the part that everybody wants to know and is sometimes the most uncomfortable part. When we talked about programmable space, we came up to approximately 33,250 square feet. And then there's a gross up factor. So what's a gross up factor take into account? It takes into account mechanical spaces, the building envelope, corridors, those types of things. We used a factor of 15%. Some will tell you that might be a little high, some might tell you it might be a little bit low, but that was the number we came to. So total square footage of the building was approximately 38,238 square feet. Again, Ballard King is not an architectural or an engineering firm, but we took a look at other projects that are in the area, similar projects that we're seeing across the country, and not talking about the highest end finishes of a facility, but not also talking about a very Spartan facility or a metal building, right? We kind of chose what we felt would be a midpoint, and that midpoint was approximately $550 a square foot, which puts your construction costs at approximately $21 million. Then there's additional costs, right? There's what's it cost to build it, but then what's the project cost? So site work, FF&E, architectural fees, those types of things. So for that approximately 40,000 square foot facility, you're talking approximately $26.2 million in terms of project, $21 million in terms of construction. So we know what it's going to look like. We have an idea of what it's going to cost to build it, but now we also have to figure out how are we going to run this thing, right? They don't run themselves. And I think one of the things that was important when we looked at this is we wanted to highlight the hours and the availability of the facility, because you're talking about a building that's going to be available more than 80, almost 90 hours a week. So with that, we have some additional personnel expenses, we have some commodities, we have contractual obligations, we have some internal chargebacks, right? We have all these people running programs, additional staff, there's going to be IT fees, there's going to be HR, there's going to be all these different kinds of things. Now, if you watched this presentation yesterday, there's a new line item. A little embarrassed, but we sat down this afternoon and we said, you know, we're paying a lease at Brookside. Did we ever go ahead and think about we should probably pull that dollar amount out? And we didn't. So we spent some time today to do that. There's approximately $235,000 annually that's going to that lease. So new expenses minus the dollars for Brookside is about $894,000 to go ahead and to run this building above and beyond what the $1.9 million existing budget is. So total recreation budget of about $2.75 million. Of that $2.75 million, that's just straight operating expenses and the internal charges. As a company, we also make a recommendation that the town should consider early on in the operation of allocating dollars to a sinking fund so that you have money available to you long-term to make improvements to the facility. We broke that out just for comparative purposes. We also took a look at what kind of new revenue generation could we come up with, right? And we took a conservative approach to developing these numbers. This is not the facility at capacity. There's additional growth opportunities. Well, we talked about $176,000, almost $177,000 increase in new programs. It could be a variety of different things. In some cases, it could be expansion of existing. We talked about some vending opportunities in there and a significant amount of rentals. Again, we heard that time and time again as we need more opportunities for rentals. And we used market rates for those. So approximately, when you take new revenue plus existing revenue, it came up to about $827,000. What we ended up doing with that is we took the cost of the project and we amortized what payments would be at 4.5% over 30 years. And then we added that differential, that operational subsidy to that dollar amount. So when you see that $2.28 million annual, that covers the debt service for the facility, and it also includes the increased subsidy of the operation. We also took a look at the average home value within the town of Brighton, came out to $317,823. When we went ahead and we started to drill down, because people want to know, what is our annual impact? So if you're looking at an average home in Brighton, the annual impact would be about $232. If you look at that on a monthly basis, comes out to less than $20, $19.39. So we know approximately what's going to be in it, what it's going to cost, what's it going to look like to operate, and what's that debt service going to go ahead and look like long term. So again, another rendering that SWBR did for us in this process. It did for the town. Just with where you're talking about the facility potentially being, you have a lot of opportunities. You already have some barns that are out there. There could be some very neat theming that you do and really kind of blend that facility into the background or into the setting. So anyways, thank you for your time. This has been a longer project, but it is also, we have some family in the area, and it's always fun to kind of give back to those communities. So this has been a very enjoyable process. So thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Obviously, as you can see, as we are spending a lot of time on the ongoing construction of Town Hall, which is one of the things that has slowed down our process of getting here. We were faced with some very, very serious and immediate needs at Town Hall, replacing the HVAC system, which drove prioritizing that project, while at the same time, keeping our longer-term plans to move this project forward alive. I do want to acknowledge Bill Price, who is with us this evening. Bill has not only a volunteer with the town on the planning board, but also until recently was at the SWBR firm and was very much a part of putting together a lot of the work that led to where we're at in this study. So we appreciate your work, and Darren, we appreciate the focus that you've brought to the study. You really give us a lot to think about, and I know that's why some of the folks are here today. I was thinking about it, that it has taken a little while. And I remembered the old saying, what's the best day to plant a tree? Yesterday. What's the second best day to plant a tree? Today. And moving forward, we're planting the seeds today that ultimately, I am hopeful, will lead us to a community center facility that not only will we be proud of, but that we will use, and our family members will use, and our friends and neighbors will use. Before we open the discussion, can I have a motion to receive and file the complete study as part of the record of this meeting?
I move that we receive and file the complete study as a record of this meeting.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. With that, is there anyone here who would like to ask questions or otherwise address the board? If you have questions about the study, probably best directed to Darren. And if he needs to pass them on to me, he'll do that. So anyone that would like to ask a question, I'll ask you to go up to the podium so the folks at home can hear as well. Anybody with any questions? Okay. Well, thank you. As I said, more to follow for sure. We will now go to our open forum, and the open forum we hold at the beginning of every town board meeting. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda. I would again encourage you, if you're here for the public hearing on the stop sign at St. Regis and Mayflower, to hold your comments until we get to that public hearing, which we will in just a moment. If you do want to speak during the open forum and you're here in person, I will ask you in a minute to raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, if you're not on the Teams broadcast, please join the Teams live stream. And again, there are instructions for doing that on the town's webpage. After we hear from folks here in person, we'll check with people on Teams that would like to speak. Indicate your desire by using the raised hand function, and you'll be unmuted and have the opportunity to speak. Whether you're speaking in person or remotely, I would ask that you please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I will give you a 30-second advance warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer every question you have. If you have questions, particularly if they're about matters that are not on tonight's agenda, but our goal in the open forum tonight and at every meeting is to give the public the opportunity to ask us questions, to give us your feedback, share your thoughts, and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. So when you do speak, again, whether it's in person or remotely, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please avoid personal attacks and outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or similar outbursts during the open forum, out of respect for the other speakers, out of respect for everybody here in the room tonight. We don't allow signs. I don't see anybody with any signs. That's good. We want people to be able to see. Those are rules we ask you to follow. We will warn if there are failures to follow those rules or if there are failures to follow other directions from the chair. If warnings persist, we may take further action, including terminating speaking privileges or early termination of the open forum or directing someone to leave. We don't anticipate needing to do that, but in any event. So I now declare the open forum to be open, and I'm going to call on Bob Bond, who told me before the meeting this is his first town board meeting and his first opportunity to speak to the town board. So welcome.
Thank you.
And again, if you would, whether you're speaking remotely or in person, please share with us your name and address.
I haven't timed out what I wrote, so I'm going to speak quickly. I know Robin, I did not know Robin wouldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to speak directly as I planned, as if she'd be here, and I'll come back in 2 weeks. I should have spoken out a long time ago. This has nothing to do with the election. The primary election is over, and we know the outcome and the results, what they'll be in November. There will still be 3 on the ballot, whether Robin decides to drop out as a third party or not. There are good reasons to do that. There are good reasons not. We know what the outcome will be. Christine will be reelected, and Clara will join you as a new board member. Those who wish to divide us, pit one another against us, attack one another with vitriol without even talking with another despite invitations to do so, who instead write open letters to the public without even human decency of first talking with who they're attacking, those who do that will still be around. Clara and Christine and Robin all agree. And here I'm weaving together quotes from all of them. We watched the danger of anti-Semitism flare up, watched the ugliness of racism rear its head, observed the back and forth dialogue amongst community members veering between reactive name-calling and earnestly seeking understanding. Our town should not be a place where everyone feels, town should be a place where everyone feels safe, valued, empowered to thrive. Brighton is stronger when we embrace our diversity, when we lift each other up, when we refuse to let fear and division dictate our future. We can find understanding and empathy for one another if we speak with each other as human beings, respectfully, with decency, instead of retreating into our respective corners. There's no room for divisiveness, hatred, anti-Semitism, anti-black, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-anyone in Brighton. We must look to our fellow Brightonians in the eye, seeing and seeking the humanity in each other, hoping to see the same reflected back. If we don't see one another here at home as human, as deserving dignity, respect, and safety, freedom, love, how can we possibly fight for the same for others worldwide? We live in a time of great division and globally, nationally, in our state, cities, and towns. That's reflected. In a small town in upstate New York, a woman sat in a restaurant and a man came up to her and said, "Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself so much. You need first aid. And if you don't get first aid, who knows what will happen to you?" What to do if I was a witness or you were a witness? What if the woman was a Muslim? What if she was a Jew? What if an immigrant? What if she was black? What if she was an elected official? The man who did that to the woman is in a leadership role in that community's one of the town's not-for-profits. The witness who was traumatized, as any of us would be, went to that organization and asked to meet with the committee members of the organization most tied to uniting the community and overcoming hate through education, dialogue, and positive action. The committee members responded in writing in that town to the witness, quote, "None of our members are practicing mental health providers who would be able to meet your needs to talk through the trauma you experienced. But they collectively recommended seeking a trained professional who can."
Bob, I'm going to ask for 30 more seconds, and I would also note
I
that
can do
you or anybody else with a prepared statement are welcome to share it with the clerk, and that will also
I
become
will do
part-
that before the next meeting.
Okay.
Second, the organization wrote, to have a person come in to talk about an experience about hate has the potential to traumatize or re-traumatize members. There's been silence from that organization's leadership. There's been silence from everyone in leadership positions in that town. I came to my board. It's the only board that I have to speak to. And I came here to apologize to that woman for not speaking out in public. I'm ashamed that I didn't speak out before this. I'll be back in 2 weeks when Robin's here. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. And again, if you'd like to share that statement with the clerk, feel free.
I will get it to you before the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the meeting? Ms. Novros? Former council member Novros. And again, I would invite you, Louise, if you would like to submit your remarks to the clerk afterwards, you may do so.
My name is Louise Novros. I live on Seminole Way in Brighton. And I wanted to speak tonight about the planned, or I think it's planned, splash pad that you've been talking about. And we've been informed that the town of Brighton is planning to install a splash pad behind Town Hall in the grassy area between Roselawn and Town Hall. And I'm surprised that you haven't talked to the neighbors who back up to that part of the grassy area behind Town Hall, because they are very, very upset. In fact, some of them have said if that comes in, they're going to sell their house and move because of the noise and the excitement that it brings to the kids, but it also limits the enjoyment of the backyards for these people. We are concerned that the proposal and believe this location will negatively impact the quiet charm of our community, and we treasure the calm streets and the sense of security that comes with low traffic and minimal noise. A splash pad would undoubtedly bring in. I can't see, would undoubtedly bring increased traffic, noise, and congestion, and disrupt not only the residents' day-to-day quality of their life, but will also affect property values. Studies indicate that improper placement of recreational facilities can lead to unwanted environmental impacts, such as increased pollution and strain on existing infrastructure. There are 2 large parks in Brighton, Meridian and Buckland. Either of these parks would be an ideal alternative location within Brighton for a splash pad. I am told both of these parks have recently been or are going to be getting updated playgrounds. Choosing the right location for these activities can help mitigate such concerns and support community well-being. The attached map, and I'll give each of you my speech and the map, but the attached map shows how the houses of Roselawn are being impacted by the installation of a splash pad, or will be impacted by a splash pad, both by commotion it will bring to the area and increased automobile parking problems along the side streets, so that the people coming from outside of Brighton or from outside of Roselawn will park on Sylvan and the other streets, and it just will be disruptive. We urge our local town leaders and planners to not sacrifice the tranquility of our neighborhood by considering these 2 alternative locations for a splash pad, talking about the parks. And I'm attaching a map of Roselawn, and in yellow I have put all the places which will be impacted by cars and noise and everything else that comes along with the splash pad. So also, I will send you these pictures. A splash pad is not just a pole with water squirting out of it. There's pictures of what they're like. They're taking up the whole area practically they will take up the whole area of the green space. There's that kind, and then there's this kind that looks like a shower, and the kids are going into it. This is what the green space looks like now, which we want to keep. And here's another one. Here's one from the walkway that was put in and the green space that will be used, or here, from here to the back of the houses. So I'm pleading with you not to put a splash pad there, because it's going to be impacting too many people, and I'm afraid that the people that are living there now are going to be so upset. Some people say that when they're sitting in their backyard, it doesn't upset them that as much as that would, but they could hear the kids on the swings now, which are further away.
30 seconds.
Okay? So I'll just hand these out to you.
Thank you. While you do that, I just want to, I'm not going to respond in total, but I want to clarify the proposed splash pad will not take up the entire green space behind Town Hall. It won't take up anywhere close to the entire green space behind Town Hall. Thank you, Louise. Is there anyone else that would like to address? Yes, sir.
I've got the electronic version. Thank you. Try to save trees.
My name is John Kolomic, 147 Brightwoods Lane. I sent you an email a few days ago. I'm sure you haven't had time to read it because you get 30,000 emails a day. So I figured this would be an opportune time to get to my point. We're an 80-house cul-de-sac, Bright Woods Lane and Woods Meadow, and we recently had Frontier come through there with fiber optics. They dug 5-foot trenches, 2 feet wide in a lot of the yards, backfilled it with a backhoe and called it good enough. It's not good enough. My point is, why were the residents of our cul-de-sac not even informed or asked if this was going to be okay? We got no warning. We had no input into it before the project. And all of a sudden, these people show up with heavy equipment and rip the hell out of our yards. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to say.
No, that's okay. I understand.
So it's very upsetting, and I'm not the only one. I'm just happened to be the schmuck that came up here and got to represent the people that live in that cul-de-sac. So
Judging by the looks of that shirt you're wearing, there's.
I'm not in the Marines, but
Oh,
my
okay.
grandson is, so I'm not dangerous, believe me, I'm anything but. I don't want to be insulting, but I have 3 questions. And my questions, I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. If you'd ever drive over there, any of you, to see this, it is appalling what they've done to the yards. It's awful. I'm guessing
I did.
this hasn't happened to any of your neighborhoods because you wouldn't let it happen. So why was this allowed to happen? My question to you, the board, why was this allowed to happen with no notification to any of us or asking our input ahead of time?
Why don't you ask all 3 questions?
Oh, okay. Well, one of them I already went through. That was my basic question. So that was number 1. Number 2, we're private citizens with private property. It just seems wrong that this was done in this manner. And I understand you. My third question / comment is you may have a legal right to do it for easements or whatever it may be called, but was it the right thing to do? So those are my questions.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you listening and taking the time. By the way, I've contacted you in the past about other matters, and you've always been very kind to respond, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I did drive through the neighborhood to see that there was certainly work that has not adequately been repaired at this point. And we are looking to see exactly how their easements read. Let me go back to the beginning. Should they have notified you? Absolutely. And we've had that conversation, certainly with RG&E, who usually seems to do that. Frontier has now become active again in laying this fiber, and we are going to make it very clear to them that this kind of just show up is not acceptable. It's obviously disruptive. I believe that their easements require them to restore property to its original condition. Now, obviously, you can't make, you can't wave a wand and make grass grow.
Understood.
But you can properly put topsoil in and reseed it and water it if necessary and make sure, I will get to you in just a moment. Sir, let me just finish answering. I hear you, I saw it, and we will be talking to them and getting some better answers to you than what you've gotten so far.
Okay, I appreciate that. And,
Absolutely.
And just as a final parting, as a cautionary tale to the other residents of Brighton, is this going to keep happening?
Yeah, I think it is in at least some areas, so
They'll be notified.
they better.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to,
I was going to say, Frontier told us last year.
what if you would go to the mic and just state your name?
Not my comment, but the same thing happened on Hibiscus and Edgewood last year. And the contractor told us that they had to wait 2 or 3 months after they finished the project to let the ground settle before they could then come back and put more soil. So they literally just let it sit there from whatever it was, September through the fall, and then said it was too late, and they had to wait the winter, and then they came back and did it after the fact because they didn't want it to just sink if they put soil and seed on it. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
that's what
I've heard that as well.
That's what we were told, so forgive me for sharing.
No, that's okay.
So, here you go.
And if you would state your name and
Yeah,
address.
absolutely. My name is Ryan Arthurton. I live at 55 Branch Avenue. Good evening. I believe all of you on the board, or most of you, know that for the last 3 years, I've been pretty vocal on my passion as it relates to the possibility of a new community center, as well as other things relating to the community center that we're not talking about right now, but that are just as important, right? It's not just about the building that will go in Buckland. It's about the things that this community does not have right now, that our neighbors do, that we would like to take advantage of too, right? In the report that we have here has, potential expansion of a playground, right? I think 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years, I've sent Bill and other folks pictures of inclusive playgrounds all over this country that communities have. I have a special needs son. He needs one. We don't have one. I drive to Canandaigua. Why? I just don't understand those things. So I had a full set of prepared remarks for tonight. I've decided I'm not going to give them. But what I want to say here in a public forum is that I want to help. I've been telling Bill for 3 years that I want to help or be a part of a conversation. And for 3 years, almost 3 years, there was no information about what was going on as it relates from my perspective, right? As a community member, I read your magazine, I do those types of things. There was nothing. I have a child that needs these things. And then what answer do I get? Well, I'm sorry, we decided we needed to work on the town hall, for God's sake. Really pisses me off. Because now my 7-year-old is not going to have this community center and everything around it when he needs it growing up. I don't get it. But the town hall is going to have geothermal. Really pisses me off. Thank you for your time. I hope we move forward. I hope this project moves forward. I hope it's not another decade. And I hope you seek help of your community members, because right now you're not communicating with them. We have so many means to communicate with our community members, and we're not doing it. And it's not standing around at the farmer's market on the weekends, and it's not coming to 7 o'clock meetings so that I'm missing bedtime with my kids. There are other ways to communicate with your residents, and you're not doing it. I've said it over and over again, and it doesn't change. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ryan. And I do appreciate, and we had a good, I thought our dialogue today was helpful.
Wonderful.
I do.
I'm not mad about.
No. I understand. A couple things. Actually, the good news, and I understand you're pissed off, and that's okay. Because we are putting a new inclusive playground in at Town Hall, and yes, it will cause some more children to be having fun there in that facility. But that facility, that new inclusive playground, will have not a bark chip base. It will have a fully, I believe it's a rubberized type of surface that as a base is recognized as making it an ADA compliant base. It will have devices that are geared towards all kids. The Sway Fun glider that the Kiwanis Club previously installed at the old playground will be in adjacent to that. And that will get done a lot quicker than a project would out at
But talking about the community center is great, but we can't just build the building.
I agree. But just to clarify, the study is really about the building. And the programming will go, we'll add on from there, whether it's, a fitness trail or more inclusive playgrounds. We have been replacing all of our playgrounds. And I can tell you, Matt Beeman, our park superintendent, is adamant that this new playground going in at Town Hall, which is the next playground in our playground replacement process, will be a fully inclusive playground. It's in our capital improvement plan, and I support that, and I believe our board supports that 100%. It will be, we already have a playground on Town Hall property that was removed with the geothermal project going in. And the playground, the splash pad, and the pool will all be located behind the parking lot in the general area where the current
Put the splash pad behind your house and see how you like it. I mean, these people are really, really upset.
As you know, Louise, it will be about as close to my house as it is to your house.
So there's no way that you'll change your mind about the splash pad.
Louise, you are interrupting a speaker here, but since you're asking, I do want to answer those questions. You did talk about the excitement of children, and that is exactly what this project will do. You talked about benefits to the environment. The town hall location is walkable by hundreds and hundreds of households, thousands of people who will be able to walk instead of getting into their car and driving to an aquatics facility that might be located somewhere else or co-located in another location. So this will actually, assuming that we're going to put in a splash pad, will actually, I believe, be more environmentally helpful. And it will also create synergy with the library. Families come to the library, this will give them more facilities to access adjacent to the library, reducing numbers of trips, again, helping with environmental impacts, and giving kids throughout town a central location to come and be kids, both indoors and outdoors.
So you don't care.
Louise, I'm going to let Mr. Arthurton speak and anybody else that wants to speak, and then I will give you the opportunity to come back to the microphone if you choose. Go ahead, Mr. Arthurton.
Just to restate two things to everyone. I'm asking for more communication, and I'm asking to use the resources you have available. I have a doctorate in education, I have 25 years of experience as an educator, as a school administrator, talking about playgrounds, construction projects, a child with special needs. Use me. But you're not communicating with the community on a regular basis. You're not asking us to help you, so we don't go another decade before all these things take place. I'm just asking you to use your residents, not just me, but everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Message heard.
I really mean it. I'm not trying to be mad. I don't want to be a black sheep. I just want to be used.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And that's all I'm asking.
Is there anyone else, Louise, I'm going to ask, is there anyone else who would like to speak to the town board tonight during the open forum? Seeing none, if you would like to speak again, Louise, please go to the microphone and so that everybody can do it.
All the people are doing in Roselawn, and I know it's just one neighborhood, but we're asking you, you didn't even come to talk to them before you decided that you were putting this thing in their backyards. You didn't even say, is that okay with you? Because they bought their houses and they love the peace and quiet that they get there, and you're not even gonna think about it. I don't understand.
Thank you, Louise.
Well, make me understand.
I explained, I shared a number of reasons why that location, which is already the site of a number of recreational facilities.
Don't you think a park the size of and the space that you have at Buckland or even Meridian next to their new playground would be a better place?
Not necessarily, no. And, but, you know, for the reasons that I suggested, there are recreational facilities there, It's the site of the library, and it will get those recreational facilities installed and used by members of the community sooner than, we don't know whether the community center is going to be built, and we don't, we have a recommendation tonight. It takes a number of years, but we have the opportunity to replace and enhance the existing recreational facilities
Okay,
at Town
so
Hall,
replace
and we will
it.
do that.
Replace the swimming pool, replace the other things that you're going to replace, the playground. But don't put in a splash pad. That is
Thank-
not the place for a splash pad.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Anyone on Teams at all, Bill?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Is there anyone on Teams that would like to address the board? I do see one person that has been unmuted, but I don't know. I see a Juliana. I don't know if you are here to speak or not, or just to listen in. Well, if Juliana comes back, we'll hear her, but
If we have no
moving
one
forward.
further, Bill, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Dan, please, did we get any materials added this
Louise's.
statement, including the Louise's statement and yeah. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Public hearings. We have one public hearing on the agenda tonight. It's a public hearing concerning proposed local law number 2 of the town of Brighton of 2025, a local law for stop intersections and stop signs. And it is a local law that would add a stop sign on North St. Regis Drive, traveling eastbound at the intersection of Mayflower Drive. I think we have a map here in the supporting materials, so you can see exactly where that is. And it's a situation where, there is a lot of these. Well, let me first just ask if the necessary legal notice has been given.
Yes, Supervisor, notice was in the June 23rd edition of the Daily Record.
Thanks, Dan. Notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. I'll speak briefly, and I don't know, I know Bill Hafner couldn't be with us, and I don't know whether, okay. I would note that this is a T intersection. St. Regis tees into Mayflower, and it is on St. Regis where the intersection, the stop sign would be located. Mayflower continues through. And by law, traffic coming to a T intersection from the street that ends, as St. Regis North does, is required to stop, whether or not there's a stop sign. So over the years, we have not put stop signs at every one of those intersections, in part to avoid the proliferation of signage. This is an intersection where there are some sightline issues. People in the neighborhood have raised a concern that this is not just your typical T intersection, that some additional traffic control is needed. So that's what the board would be considering tonight. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board on this matter? Come on up to the podium. And again, please state your name and address for the record, because we don't have our stenographer tonight, and Dan will be. Oh yeah, thanks, thanks, Rick.
Mayor Bagley. I actually live on St. Regis Drive North. So, yeah, it is a little different than all other areas, because on the weekends, so a lot of we don't, as being Orthodox Jews, we can't drive on, and it's the main corridor that people from Ryan Cliff and Verena, they walk down to get to the temple of BHH, which is on 19 St. Regis Drive North. So you would have hundreds of people maybe walking on the weekend, and they have to walk in front of my house, which I actually love. I actually like the noise. I like child noises. I'm the I am the principal in with Leah Goldstein in Derech HaTorah. So I do feel very responsible for the kids in the neighborhood. They're almost my kids. I'm the one who gets the call.
As principal, they are your kids.
I get the calls at 11:30 at night. Where is my kid? I'm like, so I have to find out where they, and if you were to give the elevator pitch to somebody and he would ask you, what's so special about Brighton? The answer is that on a nice day like today, you have the kids biking, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and like the kids could just be free and relaxed, and I think that area is very important that we secure to make it safe, because safety's first. So I just want to thank everybody, and thank you for your advocacy, and this is my first time. It's so fun to be here. So, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your thoughts. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? I don't see anybody in the room. I will ask Juliana, again, who is still on and unmuted, if she would like to address the board on this public hearing on the proposed local law number 2 for a stop sign at the corner of North St. Regis and Mayflower. Hearing no one on Teams and seeing no one in person, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Councilmember Corrado, can I have a motion?
Happy to do so. In the matter of the proposed local law number 2 of 2025, amending section 185-43 of the town code with respect to stop intersections and stop signs, specifically at Mayflower Drive and North St. Regis, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Thank you both. Any discussion from the board? And again, thank you for that feedback. We'll take a vote, and hearing nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And with that vote, we have adopted local law number 2. There is a procedure for filing it with the Secretary of State, but we will move ahead, and I'll be talking with our highway superintendent, who couldn't be here tonight, is aware of this. So we'll get working on getting that sign in as quickly as possible. I can't promise Shabbos this week, but as soon as possible, we'll get that sign in. Thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, our next, we have communications. Nate, can I have a motion to receive and file communications?
Bill, I move that we receive and file the communications.
Second.
We only have one item tonight. It's communication from Chief Cathaldi advising us that Animal Control Officer Giuliani Wild has resigned, and we're sorry she'll go. I had the chance to meet her out working in one of the neighborhoods in town, and enjoyed a brief interaction with her, very much in her setting. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports, community service. The chair, Councilmember Wilt, is not here. Christine, I don't know.
Did not receive a
Okay.
report.
We were
next
not
meeting.
aware that, and we'll just have to update that report at the next
Yes,
meeting.
the next meeting of Community Services, however, is next Wednesday, the 16th, at 10 in the morning at the Brookside School Recreation Department.
Thank you. Finance, Nate.
Bill, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on July 2nd. I'll just talk about one item here. It's on tonight's agenda. Our committee recommended approving the supplemental agreement from New York State Department of Transportation for an increase, an additional $22,878.81 due to the severity of last winter. So that fund will help us deal with the upcoming winter, which feels very far away right now.
And let's keep it there.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
you know,
Let's
that-
not rush winter, right?
That's an example of one of the opportunities that we have to share services. The street and road system in Brighton and the other towns in Monroe County are a combination of town streets, mostly the neighborhood streets, county roads, which are more arterial in nature, and state roads, which are often the most arterial. Monroe Avenue is a state road, East Avenue is a state, East and West Henrietta are state roads. We obviously salt and plow our town roads, but under these shared services agreements, both with the county and with the state DOT, we also plow the town and county, the county and state roads in the town of Brighton. Our highway barn, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, is located on Elmwood Avenue, which is a county road. It would make no sense to pick the plow up to stop salting just because it's a county road. So we plow and we salt those roads, and both the state and the county reimburse us under a formula that does take into account additional expenditures due to particularly severe winter conditions, and last year was a pretty tough winter.
Yes, it was.
So, thank you.
Yes, our next meeting is on July 16th.
Thank you, Nate. Public safety, Chris?
Thanks, Bill. We had our Public Safety Committee meeting yesterday. The various services reported on the last month's calls, et cetera. Brighton Ambulance had 742 calls for service in June and served 267 Brighton residents. They also provided mutual aid to other surrounding towns 122 times as well. The overall call volume is up some 17% from 2024. And we discussed various needs of adjoining towns and additional services within the community for transport of seniors, et cetera. But that's a significant increase in the number of calls. Brighton Fire Department reported they had no calls of any significance, that they had a very smooth 4th of July celebration, and that their staffing is fully, they have a full complement there. It's good news from them. DPW indicated that they were installing accessible curbs this month along Edgewood for the crosswalk installation Edgewood at Wintergreen. Brighton Police reported that they had calls to the end of June of 21,643 calls, 21,643, and that the 4th of July went off without any difficulty. Henrietta Fire District indicated they had 75 calls in West Brighton and no incidents of note in June as well. All positive reports. French Road Bridge detour plan has been updated, and the final inspection is due on that bridge July 24th, and they hope to have two-way traffic beginning as soon as next weekend on the 18th. And also we discussed the stop sign at on North St. Regis. And our next meeting will be August 12th at 0800 hours.
Thanks, Chris. Just one more related matter. You know, as you did mention the 4th of July, and it was a great, very successful day. People enjoyed the music. Big shout out to the Brighton Kiwanis Club, who provides their kids zone, which is crafts and other activities for kids, as well as the petting zoo. We did get some reports about some activity at Buckland Park. Some number of people were in Buckland Park to watch the fireworks at a more remote location, whether it's to reduce the noise or traffic issues, whatever the reason, people went to Buckland Park. And I understand there was concern about fireworks activity by civilians, obviously not young explosives, the people that were doing our fireworks display. And of course, random fireworks are not legal. You see Tops sells fireworks, but basically what they're selling are things that don't shoot off from the ground. They're sparklers of one kind or another. So people that are shooting off, whatever M80s or other loud and potentially dangerous fireworks in a park is a real concern. So the chief and I had that discussion, and we will talk about it in the context of staffing. I think it is important to note the 4th of July celebration is very much an all-hands-on-deck situation for our law enforcement. We have a lot of people there, and it increases at the end of the day when those fireworks are going off and when people are hanging out in Buckland Park to see the fireworks, because they're engaged in traffic control. They're out throughout the parking lot, the driveway, out on Winton Road, down to the diverging diamond. And in some cases, they're some distance from their police car, and they are on a specific assignment for traffic control for the event. So we're going to take a look and see, I do want to encourage anybody that experienced that concern to reach out to Chief Cathaldi. I know he would be happy to speak with them and get a better understanding of the scope of the issues and how we might be able to address it going forward. I don't want to see a few isolated incidents like that mar what was otherwise, I think, a day that a lot of people in town enjoyed. So if you do need to talk to the chief, if you want to share some additional information, please do that. Public Works, Christine.
Public Works met yesterday at 10, following the very brief Public Safety Committee meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, at 9. At 9, following the very brief and compact Public Safety meeting, and we were so inspired that we wrapped up Public Works in under 90 minutes. Military precision, thanks to many of the participants in the meeting yesterday. But it led off with a preview of tonight's presentation of the feasibility study. We also had an update on the BRICS grant that the supervisor mentioned earlier that could be a potential significant funding source for a future community center. The matter of demolition of 185 Kimbark Road was discussed. Bids were due today at 10, and
We did not receive any, but we will be directly soliciting some of the local vendors who knocked down some of the zombie homes from Rochester. I got the list from my friend that works for the city of Rochester, so we're going to actively solicit more bids to see if we can get somebody to present something to us to take that facility down.
Good, thank you. We heard, this will make Mr. Dempsey very happy in the audience, waste management update. I think a few other people will be excited to hear about this too, because talking trash is a big deal in Brighton. The town engineer working with waste management and the supervisor have refined the the service relationship with Waste Management. So residents who had the backdoor service, or basically service at their door with the haulers coming to the door, taking the toters to the curb, and then returning them, those folks can have that service reactivated. They need to reach out to Chad Roscoe in the Public Works Department, or they, I believe, can now request it on the Waste Management municipal customers.
I'm not sure that's
Not
up
yet.
yet, but Chad Roscoe is.
Excellent.
And since we're talking about Chad, his direct phone line, 784-5224.
The most dialed number in Brighton.
Sorry, Chad.
There will be an application for future needs. So at any time, we can become older and incapable of hauling a toter to the curb, or we can become disabled and need assistance with that. So an application process will be put in place as well to help filter and vet. The recycling toters, folks who need more space for recycling can request an additional toter. And the smaller toters for folks who use
Yeah, the smaller
less-
toter would be a part of the first one that you talked about. We heard from some people who are physically capable of taking refuse or recycling out to the street, but the 96-gallon container is just too big for them to maneuver. So just as people will be able to get a second recycled toter if they're generating more recycling, people will also be able to get a 64-gallon. That will be an option available to people to enable them to continue to transport it to and from the street themselves.
Excellent. I'll be signing up as soon as possible. I have photographic evidence that I just barely clear the toter when I'm trying to bring it to the curb. So something a little more Christine-sized would be appreciated. I think that covers everything on waste management to
The
date.
one other thing I'll mention about waste management, because it is important, and I appreciate Blair working with us, and we're refining those final details, but one of the things, and this is certainly a fair request on his part, it's been called backdoor, but we're going to ask folks that if they do have to avail themselves of this service, we're going to ask people that we don't want waste management drivers to have to open gates and go into people's backyards where there might be dogs or other hazards, and I understand that. We also don't want them to have to go into people's garages for all sorts of reasons. So what we're going to ask is that people get their toters out in front. Typically, it would probably be in the garage, in front of their garage, or generally in front of where the driveway is, on trash collection or recycle collection, both days. And then the waste management driver will be able to come up and get it from there.
And we'll all get used to the new routines. Somehow we will all adjust. We had an update on town hall renovations. It's progressing in a timely manner, and in the near future, we'll have updates available on the town website showing progress going forward. Crosswalk reviews, we are continually taking input from the community on crosswalks. Most of the crosswalks, let's see, let me group these here. There are 3 proposed locations on Highland Avenue, which is a town street, and therefore the town can take action at Council Rock, Pelham Road, and Grosvenor Road. They all meet the requirements, and at a date to be determined, those will be, we'll move forward on those. There are suggestions for crosswalks on Penfield Road, a county road. Those are in reevaluation at this point because there's opportunity to look at other locations on Penfield Road that may be more amenable to a crosswalk. And then last, we heard the update about the crosswalk on Edgewood Avenue at Wintergreen Way, and that is coming very soon.
And the crosswalk on Clover at Esplanade, which I believe, again, was...
That
the
should
cons-
have our RFBs coming this season.
Yes, the crosswalk has been,
It's in?
it's in.
It is in?
But the RRFB has not yet been
Correct.
installed. Okay.
Correct. And that's on a state road, so.
Right.
We're covering every level. Other matters that with an actual update. We heard about the French Road Bridge, end of July completion. Chelmsford Lane culvert replacement has now reached the point where the New York State DOT has the right-of-way paperwork in hand. Monroe County Grant Program for new sidewalks. All paperwork has been submitted for a second round of sidewalk segments on county roads. We're awaiting good news. And
We're actually taking seeker action tonight
good.
on that application.
excellent,
So,
excellent. So you've got your good news, some good news already. Clean energy communities, the work that we are doing with installing solar and green heat in town buildings. Most of that work will be done by August. And we've got some street light contracts that will be rebid, and we'll have more news on those next month. The next meeting is on August 12th at 9 a.m., and our goal is to keep it to the 90 minutes or less while still getting substantial information from everyone. We've set it the standard.
thanks,
We're
Christine.
going to do it.
Moving on to new business, reading and approval of claims. Nate?
Yes. Bill, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $1,014,779.85. Notable claims include a payment for electrical contracting on the Town Hall renovation project to Concord Electric Corporation, and a payment for 2024 sidewalk repair to Pro Construction, Inc. The claims appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye, and Nate, why don't you do the next one, too, since you
Yeah, you got
talked
it.
about it a moment ago?
That's right. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to amend the municipal snow and ice agreement with the New York State DOT, that's the Department of Transportation, to reflect additional expenditures due to unanticipated severity of the 2024-2025 winter season. I move that we approve this matter as approved by the attorney to the town.
Second. Thank you. You discussed this before, but this does mean an extra $22,000 or so in revenue to the town. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Christine?
Sure. The next matter seeks to declare as junk certain fixed asset items from the Information Technology Department to be sold via the town website, with unsold items sent to an electronics recycling firm. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Pretty self-explanatory. These are mostly old computers and a couple of other older IT items. We try to keep those updated as technology moves ahead. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Next, our friend Chad Roscoe has been busy. Not only has he been working with Waste Management on our existing refuse district, but we have received requests from over 600. 600? I want to make sure I've got that number right. I think it is over 600 residents in a number of neighborhoods throughout town who are interested in becoming part of the refuse district and saving literally 50% on the cost of refuse service as compared to Waste Management, or for that matter, other carriers' regular rates. So that's something we have to set a public hearing on, and this action would set a public hearing to consider that expansion of the refuse district for August 13th. And Christine, why don't I have that motion from you as well?
Oh,
Do I have the date wrong here?
No,
It's the 13th?
the 13th.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
August 13th.
Yes. Those are rough weeks for keeping track of anything, right? So the next matter seeks to authorize, to set a public hearing. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes, we're setting the public hearing for establishing extensions to the Brighton Consolidated Refuse District on July.
No, August 13th.
August 13th. Holy cow. I don't even know which year it is at this point. On August 13th, 7 p.m. here at Brighton.
2025.
2025. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bailey?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to take action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act application for the installation of approximately 2,150 linear feet of 5-foot wide Americans with Disabilities Act compliant sidewalks on portions of Allen's Creek, Clover, Elmwood, and Westfall roads and streets, and declare the town of Brighton as lead agency for the project, and adopt the related seeker negative declaration. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this is in connection with the second round of sidewalk grants that we hope to get from the county. I had a chance to give the county a shout out at yesterday's listening session that the Genesee Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council held as part of their planning process for their 2050, it was hard to think in those terms, transportation plan that they're beginning the development of. To note that the county's grant program, $10 million to allow towns like Brighton to build sidewalks and only pay half the cost. The county is covering half the cost of sidewalks, new sidewalks built along county roads. That is an aggressive and affirmative step towards complete streets, towards a more complete transportation network in the community, and I'm so pleased that we can take advantage of it, and this will be our second application for those sidewalks.
That's great.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Nate?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute interconnection agreements for the solar arrays on the Buckland Park Lodge, Buckland Park Concessions Building, Meridian Center Park, and Town Hall Pool buildings. I move that we approve this matter as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is part of our ongoing project to install solar panels on a number of sort of auxiliary town buildings, although some of them get more use than some of our other buildings, the Buckland Park Lodge, the Meridian Center Lodge, all of these buildings, they're already in the process of getting solar panels installed. We'll have those solar panels installed later this year, and these interconnection agreements facilitate the connection that it's important to have between solar energy installations and the grid. So, anything further? Any further discussion on this? Glenn, anything you want to add to my decidedly non-technical
It's just
explanation?
the one document we need to have signed to allow us to do the tie-in to the grid. So otherwise, we'd be creating energy that would go right to the building as opposed to going back into the grid, which helps the local community as well. But
And saves us a little bit more money, yeah. And, and this is a project, again, this is done under the Clean Energy Community Grant Program of NYSERDA, one of the many grant programs that the town is a party to. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to amend the non-represented salary and wage schedule to move the title of real property appraiser trainee from Group 2 to Group 3 of the schedule. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second?
Second.
This is a position that is very actively involved with a significant level of responsibility in our property tax assessment process, and we felt that moving it to Group 3 of the schedule better reflects the expectations, the training, the skill set needed for the position.
Yeah, this was a newer position that was created last year, and just as we've been in it here, and particularly the events of the last 6 months, we kind of really realized that given what the position is and what it actually does, and we didn't seat it properly. So this is a chance to correct that.
Good. Thanks. Acting assessor.
Yes.
Dan Amon.
As acting assessor, Tricia and I talked about this, and we brought this up. So,
Further discussion? Hearing none? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine, the last item.
I'm very excited about this last one, saving the best for last. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Colliers Engineering and Design for the preparation of a grant application to the New York Bricks program in an amount not to exceed $9,500. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This is exciting. I mentioned it earlier. This is grant writing services. Colliers Engineering is an engineering firm, large engineering firm that used to be Bergman Associates, was a large Rochester-based engineering firm, and they were acquired by Colliers. As I mentioned earlier, this program is on a very short time frame. It was just announced by the governor last month. There's been a webinar, there's been all sorts of training material to get people up to speed on this very short timeline, because grant applications are due by August 15th. And that is a timeline that Colliers has said they will meet. They have a grant writing service as part of their wide array of services, and the opportunity, there's no guarantees, but the opportunity to work with a firm like Colliers that we've worked with on a number of occasions, both in their current name Colliers and previously as Bergman, and knowing their expertise in grant writing. This is a really exciting project because the timing of our study, we're really, I think, at the sweet spot in terms of being ready to get our funding in place, and anything that we can do to significantly transfer some of the cost of this project to a grant would be very, very helpful. So we're going to get hustling on this right of way, and I encourage the board to approve this. Anything further? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner. Aye. Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Matters of the supervisor, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the development of the 2026 town budget is now well underway. We have a volunteer budget review task force that every year meets with our finance director and myself, and with the chair of our finance committee, particularly aggressively working on the capital improvement plan, which is a major part of our budget and probably the major discretionary part of our budget. 75% of the town's budget, almost exactly, is wages and benefits of our employees. We are a service business, and so therefore those costs are really important, and we don't have a lot of control over them. We do have a number of cost-sharing programs in place to keep the costs down, but however, capital work, we really want to scrutinize and prioritize very carefully. So this Budget Review Task Force in July and August spends a lot of time. We've met 4 times already, most recently on Monday, where we not only met to discuss board members' reactions to the requests and their priorities, but also to give our members a tour of our highway and sewer facility, the Richard Wiles Highway facility at 1941 at Elmwood Avenue. We do this periodically. None of our members have been on the committee long enough to have gotten that tour, so we really spent some time in all the nooks and crannies, the salt barn and the sign shop and everywhere else there. I think it was a really helpful experience for our members, and it will help them better evaluate the capital requests. I'll put in a plug for everybody else in town who would like to get to tour at least part of the highway sewer facility. Your opportunity is coming, and it'll be a lot more fun. Mighty Motors, our annual family kids day to check out the highway department, check out the big rigs, is August. Anybody remember the date at their
Find out for you.
fingertips? It's a lot of fun.
It will be Thursday, August 21st, beginning at 4, and I believe there will be the sensory.
The sensory friendly is
early.
4 to 5, and 5 to 7, I believe, is the general Mighty Motors event. Great fun for the family. Also, as it relates to the highway department, lawn and garden debris pickup is ongoing. That continues right into the fall when we switch to leaf pickup, but the same rules apply. We encourage people to containerize lawn and garden debris if you can. It's neater for the neighborhood. Your debris will get picked up more quickly because the Packer truck circulates. They don't have to gather everything into a pile. They can just dump the containers into the truck. So they get around town pretty close to once a week. So put them in garbage containers or in those big brown paper bags you can get at the hardware store or the big box store, preferably at one of our great local hardware stores here in Brighton. Where do you put them? Don't put them in the street, please, whether they're bulk or whether they're containers. Please don't put them in the street. Put them on the tree lawn between your sidewalk and the street if you have one. Otherwise, just put them on the lawn, but right next to the street. You can check the town's webpage. We have maps and a schedule showing approximately when both bulk pickup and containerized pickup will be taking place. I was going to give an update on waste management, but Christine already did that. The other couple things I will mention, our concert series, our summer concert series. Last night, beautiful evening, and it was our first concert of the year. And as is our tradition, the Brighton Symphony Orchestra played out in Buckland Park. I think it was the biggest crowd I have ever seen for one of the Brighton Symphony concerts. As always, they put on a wonderful, wonderful performance, a lot of favorites, popular favorites, but also some really intriguing works from contemporary composers. The next 5 Tuesdays, we will have those concerts, weather permitting, and we know it's going to be nice on Tuesday evenings. They're at 6:30. We have a smooth jazz R&B. RC Groove, I think, is the name of the band next Tuesday night. So a very different feel than the symphony orchestra, but still a lot of fun. 6:30 under the shelter at Buckland Lodge. What's better than 1 month of Pride, 2 months of Pride? Actually, 12 months of Pride is the way we like to look at it. But Pride is going on. There are a lot of Pride events happening in the next week or two. But in particular, here in the town of Brighton, on Friday, we will be holding our Community Pride event right here in the lobby of Empire State University, 680 Westfall Road. We will be honoring LaShara Evans. Many of you know LaShara because she was the principal at French Road Elementary School, and now, after being chief of staff in the city of Rochester, is moving to the Penfield School District, where I believe her title is Deputy Superintendent. But she will be honored. We will have a cultural dance event and an indoor unfurling of our town pride flag. So that's at noon on Friday. I would also invite all members of the community. The town of Brighton marches in the Pride Parade every year. We've done it now for a couple of years. It's a wonderful opportunity to show the community our support for our diverse workforce. That will take place on Science Parkway is the gathering place for the parade. The parade kicks off at 11 o'clock a week from Saturday morning the 19th. And whether you're a town employee, obviously a town board member, I hope we'll all be there, a volunteer of one of our boards, or simply someone that wants to join us to show your solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community here in Brighton, please join us in the Pride Parade, Saturday the 19th. Get there early. Don't wait until 11 o'clock to show up. It is a very popular parade. There is parking at the Al Siegel Center, but don't wait till the last minute. Matters of the attorney to the town. I know we have an executive session scheduled for employment of particular people and a litigation.
Employment history of a particular person. Yes, Supervisor, so nothing to report, but I would request those 2 executive session items.
Sounds good, thank you. Matters of the town clerk.
Nothing this evening.
Matters of the town board.
We have 2 short items. First, in the Genesee Finger Lakes listening session that you attended yesterday, I was registered but missed out on it for a number of reasons. And if others in the community missed out on it, there is the opportunity to participate remotely on Thursday. The Genesee Finger Lakes Transportation Listening Session takes place remotely Thursday, 4 to 5, and I should have been better prepared.
You have to register
Yes.
for it. They will send you a Teams or Zoom
I
link.
assumed I had put the link in my calendar, and I did not. So if you're like me and you didn't put the link in the calendar, look up Genesee Finger Lakes Transportation Listening Session. It will pull it up, and you can register for that opportunity. The other thing I want to...
And I thought the in-person session was very good, helpful input from people with a wide range. We had a couple people who specifically work with seniors and came with the perspective of mobility for seniors. A couple of town officials. We had a town official, an official and a candidate from Henrietta, myself, a cycling advocate, and some others. So it was a good group, all with their own perspectives on moving mobility and transportation forward into a multi-dimensional, complete framework.
And I cannot emphasize how important it is that we participate in those discussions, because one of our freedoms is freedom of movement, freedom of transport, freedom to get around, and if we don't work on taking down barriers to that freedom, we're not free. We're simply not free to participate fully in society. So if you can make it, that's awesome. If you can't make it and you have thoughts on mobility in the area, message me and I will do my best to relay that information as well at that meeting. And speaking of getting around on 2 wheels, maybe 3 wheels in Brighton, this Friday, the 11th, is the second in the series of community bike rides that we do in collaboration with Reconnect Rochester. This one is sponsored by our friend Jackie Marchand of Woman Tours, a Brighton-based business, and Jackie is also a dedicated volunteer on the Parks and Recreation Board, where she gives good advice to our staff and reflects the community's input on a lot of things. The bike ride starts from Town Park across the street that way. I'm always turned around in here. But once you're outside, you'll know where Town Park is. Gather by about 6:40, and kickstands go up at 7 o'clock. It's a nice, easy ride. We don't go much faster than, we don't break into 2 digits, 9 miles an hour through the whole thing. So it's good for everyone.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for organizing and getting sponsors, being a sponsor yourself, and making those events happen.
They're a lot of fun. Someday, the supervisor will show up. And I have, on the 3rd ride of the season, we may see the sponsor for that ride showing up on 2 wheels.
On electric wheels? Because the last time I saw him on a bike, it was an e-bike, and he was painting quite the picture. Any other matters of the board? Here.
Bill, I chatted briefly with the chief about what we're seeing, a number of car crimes, and you may have a message for the community here. Just what protections you can take and what prevention.
I'm going to put out a public safety announcement tomorrow. There's been a slight uptick. We remind people all the time, just please lock your cars. Please take your valuables out of your cars. It'll go a long ways in helping us and helping the community.
I think it's important to note that even with the uptick you mentioned, which does unfortunately occur during the summer months, our statistics are well down from a few years ago, which is a good trend. And we're not unique in that, but it is a good thing to see. Then can I have a motion to go into executive session concerning a matter of the employment of a particular person and the history of employment of a particular person?
Bill, I move that we go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person and the history of the employment of a particular person.
Can I have a second? Second. Thank you, Christine. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. I do not anticipate that we will come out back into public session after the executive session.
Sir,
I want to thank our ASL interpreters. You always really make a difference for us. And we'll see you again at our next meeting, which is July 23rd, right here at Empire State University, 7 p.m. Have a great evening, everybody. And Rich, thanks for coming.